Hello everyone, in this session we will be discussing double column cash book or two column cash book. Now in this cash book we will have two columns on both sides, that is on debit and credit side, and the columns are cash column as well as bank column. Now let us see what is meant by cash book with two column. Now it is a cash book with two columns on each side, one column for recording cash transactions and the other column for recording bank transactions. Now in this type of cash book, what we will do is that we will record bank transactions as well. Now the advantage of maintaining such a type of cash book is that cash columns and bank columns represent cash account and bank account respectively, and hence while preparing ledger we don't have to prepare cash account and bank account separately because it is included in our cash book. Now let us see some rules regarding preparing this type of cash book. Now as we know that bank account is a personal account, so the rule for a personal account, that is debit the receiver and credit the giver, will be applied in this column. Now when we record any transactions regarding bank, suppose if we made any payment to our supplier, then at that time what is going on is that means the bank is a giver of amount, so at that time we will record it in credit side. And when we receive any amount in our bank account, our bank is the receiver, so in that case we will do is that we will record it in the debit side of our cash book and in the bank column. Now third one is opening balance. As we know that cash column, it always shows a debit balance and hence it will be written as to balance brought down on debit side. But it is not same for bank column. Sometimes bank column may show debit balance, but sometimes it may show credit balance as well. But when the bank balance or bank column shows debit balance, what we will do is that we will record that in the debit side of cash book by writing to balance brought down. But if bank column shows credit balance, at that time what we will do is that we will record it on credit side of cash book by writing by balance brought down. But again, and if any question shows overdraft balance, it means that it is a credit balance and hence it will be recorded on credit side of cash book. Now the third rule is regarding contra entries. Now what is contra entry? Any entry or any transaction which involves cash as well as bank in the same transaction, at that time what we say is that it is a contra entry. When cash is deposited into bank or when cash is withdrawn from bank for office use, each such transaction affects both cash column as well as bank column, and the transaction is therefore recorded on both sides of the cash book. Now at that time what we will do is that we will record that transaction on both sides, that is on debit side and credit side, and such kind of entry is known as contra entries. Now let us see some contra entries. Cash deposited into bank. When cash is deposited into bank, it increases the bank balance and reduces the cash balance. Hence, it affects the cash column as well as the bank column. As such, the same amount is recorded on the debit side as well as on the credit side. Now, when we deposit cash into bank, cash is going out from the business, and according to the rule of real account, debit what goes out. Credit what goes out. Forget about that. Let us see, when we deposit cash into bank, the debit rule for cash account, that is for real account, is debit what comes in, credit what goes out. At that time what we will do is that we will record in the cash column on credit side because cash is going out from the business. On the another hand, bank, he is the receiver of money because we are depositing it into bank. So according to the personal accounts rule, debit the receiver, at that time we will record it on debit side. Okay, now in here they have given example. Now on debit side of cash book, what we will write is that to cash account, and amount is recorded in the bank column because bank is the receiver, and on debit side we record all the receipt. Okay, and on the other hand, on credit side what we will do is that we will write by bank account. is written and the amount is recorded in cash column, because on credit side of the cash book we record the payment, and since cash is making the payment, so we will record the amount in cash column. Now here is the example. Suppose if we deposited 2000 into bank, it will be recorded in the cash book as follows. Now on debit side, since it is a receipt side, when we deposit money into bank, who is receiving the money? It is the bank who is receiving money, so we will write amount in the bank column, and in here we will write to cash account. And on the credit side, it is the payment side. Now we will see who is making the payment. Is it cash or is it bank? It's cash. Cash is making the payment, so we will record the amount in cash column, and here we will write by bank account because bank is the receiver. And if we see the journal entry for this transaction, it will be bank account debited to cash account. So to cash is in here, and obviously on the credit side it will be by bank account. Now another type of contra entry is when we withdraw from bank for office use, not for personal use. At that time, let us see one example. Suppose if we withdrew 2500 from the bank, then in that case on the receipt side you try to think who is receiving the money. It is cash who is receiving money, so we will record amount in the cash column. And on the credit side, who is making the payment? It is the bank who is making payment of 2500, so we will record amount in the bank column. Now for writing in here, what we are supposed to write in here, by bank or by cash, you just have to remember the journal entry. Now think in your mind what will be the journal entry for this transaction. We withdrew 2500 from bank, so the journal entry will be cash account debited to bank account. So to bank we will write in here, and obviously on credit side it will be by cash account. So this is another method that you can follow while recording contra entries. Now receipt of check and bank draft. Checks received from customers deposited into bank the same day. When we receive check from our customer and we deposit it into the same day into the bank, at that time what we will do is that we will enter the transaction on debit side, and we will record the amount in bank column, because as soon as we get the check and if we deposit it into our bank account will receive the money. Now another case is when we receive check from customer but we haven't deposited it into bank the same day. At that time, earlier in journal chapter, what we saw is that first, when we keep checks in our hand, we used to pass journal entry. So the journal entry was checks in hand account debited to Banerjee, means they are taking example because like we received check from Mr. Banerjee. So at that time what we will do is that we will debit checks in hand account, and on the date when we deposit that check into the bank, at that time what we will do is that we will we will record it into the cash book by writing 2 checks in hand on the debit side, and the amount we will write in the bank column. Now there are some points that you can read: payment by check, dishonor of check, cash discount by yourself. So let us see what is meant by payment by check. As soon as we issue a check to someone, it will be immediately recorded on the credit side in bank column. Now when we issue check to someone, at that time what we will do is that we will record in the credit side in bank column. Then when the check gets dishonored, then what we will do is that we will, suppose if you received a check from customer and deposited into bank for collection is dishonored, then an entry will be made on the credit side of the cash book by entering the amount of the dishonored check in the bank column. In particulars column, the name of the customer will be entered. So what we are supposed to do is that we will record it in the credit side of cash book, we will record the amount in bank column, and we will write the customer's name in the particulars column. For example, suppose if we received a check of 20,000 from MARAM-COMMERCE is dishonored, then in that case what we will do is that we will record it in the credit side of cash book by writing by MARAM-COMMERCE, and the amount will be recorded in bank column. Now cash discount. In a cash book having cash and bank column, the amount of discount is recorded in journal proper, as we saw in our previous questions also. For cash discount, discount allowed or discount received, we don't record it in cash book, but we record it in journal by passing one journal entry. Then comes the balancing part. Balancing part is easy. It is usually like the previous questions, but in double column cash book, what you have to do is that you have to balance two columns, that is bank and cash balance. Okay, now let us see one question, and with that question you might be able to understand properly how two column cash books are made. The question that I have picked is question number 6 for today. Now let us see the question. Cash in hand, that is cash balance is 2,700. Then cash at bank, that is bank balance, is 27,500. Since they haven't mentioned bank overdraft, it means that it is a debit balance, and we will write in debit side of our cash book by writing March 1 to balance brought down. Cash amount we will write in cash column, and the amount bank balance we will write in bank column. The next transaction is received from Subhash. They mentioned that we have received from Subhash rupees 3,500, so we will consider that we received cash from him, so we will write to Subhash. In cash column we will write 3,500. Then next is sold goods for cash. That means we sold goods and we received cash of rupees 10,000, so on debit side we will write to sales account 10,000 on cash column. Then next is paid rent by check, means for paying rent we issued a check of rupees 800. So on payment side, what we will do is that we will write by rent account, and since we issued check, that means money will be deducted from our bank account, so bank is the giver of money, so we will be recording 800 in the bank column. Then next is paid Sohan by check, means we paid Sohan a check of rupees 3,000. That means money will be deducted from our bank account, so we will write in credit side by writing by Sohan in bank column 3,000. Then next is bought goods for cash rupees 15,000. That means we bought goods and we made the payment in cash, so we will write by purchases account rupees 15,000. Then next is paid cash for stationery rupees 200. So first let us see this one, paid for stationery rupees 200. So we will write by stationery account rupees 200 in cash column because we made the payment in cash. Then next, drew from bank for office use, means we withdrew some cash from bank for business use. That means it is a contra entry. It includes both column, that is cash column and bank column. Now let us see how. We withdrew from bank. That means bank is the giver. So in the payment side, what we will do is that we will record in the bank column 8,000, and think who is receiving the money. It is cash in the business who is receiving money, so we will write in cash column here 8,000. Now for recording in particulars, what you think is that you have to think about journal entry. What will be the journal entry for this transaction? It will be cash account debited to bank account, so to bank account here and by cash account in credit side. Now to point out that this transaction is a contra entry, we will record C in front of both the side of both transaction to mention that it is a contra entry. The next is received check from Surendra and sent it to bank, means on the same date we deposited that check into the bank, so means our bank will be receiving money. So we wrote to Surendra in bank column 6,600. Then next is paid for advertisement rupees 750. That means we made payment by cash, so we will write by advertisement account in cash column 750. The next is issued check in favor of Nath Brothers, means we issued a check to Nath Brothers of rupees 4,300, so we will record it in payment side by Nath Brothers rupees 4,300 in cash column. The next is cash sales, means we sold some goods and we received cash of rupees 13,000, so on debit side we will write to sales account in cash column 13,000. The next is paid into bank, means we took out some money from our cash and we paid it into the bank. That means it is a contra entry. Now we paid into bank. Who is the giver of money? Cash. So in here we will write cash 16,000, because this credit side is the payment side. You have to think who is paying the money. Is it cash or bank? Since in this transaction cash is giving, so we wrote in the cash column 16,000. And who is receiving the money? It is the bank who is receiving money. So on debit side we will write 16,000 on the bank column. Now think about the journal entry for this transaction. The journal entry will be bank account debited to cash account. So in here we wrote cash to cash account, and automatically in here it will be by bank account. Now again we have to mention C on both the sides for showing that it is a contra entry. Then next transaction is receive check from Vinod and sent it to bank. So we received a check and on that same day we deposited it into bank, so we will record it into debit side to Vinod and in bank column 2,400. The next is bought scooter and paid for the same by check. That means we bought scooter and we paid by check. So on the payment side we will write by scooter account. On the bank column we will write 18,000. The next, bank returned Surendra's check dishonored. That means the check that we got from Surendra, it was returned to us saying that it got dishonored. So at that time what we will do is that we will record on the credit side by writing Surendra, and in bank column we will write 6,600. Now for the value you have to see which was the check that Surendra gave us. It was this check 6,600, so we got amount from here. The next transaction, paid salary by check rupees 7,200. So we will write by salary account, and since we made the payment by check, that means money will be deducted from our bank. So we will write 7,200 in bank column. The next is paid trade expenses. Now in this trade expenses of rupees 2,000, they haven't mentioned whether we made payment by check, so we will consider it as a cash payment. So by trade expenses we will write 2,000 in cash column. Then next is cash sales, means we sold some goods for cash and we received 9,500. So we will write to sales account 9,500. Then next is paid into bank, means again contra entry, because cash and bank both are involved in this transaction. Now paid into bank, who is the receiver of amount? Bank. So in payment receipt side we will write it in bank column. And who is the giver? It is cash who is giving 10,000. So on the credit side, that is on payment side, we will write in cash column. Now think about journal entry of this transaction. It will be bank account debited to cash. So to cash we have here, and automatically on payment side it will be by bank account. And C for showing contra entry. Now for balancing, all the transactions are finished. Now we have to balance the columns. Now first, as we know that cash column will always have debit balance, so you find out the total of all items, and we got 46,710, and from there you deduct 15,200, 750, 16,000, 2,000 and 10,000. After deducting we got difference of 2,716, so that will become our balance carried down, and to total of cash column we got 46,710. Now in this case, since we have debit balance of bank column as well, so we will find out total of bank column on debit side as well. We got 62,500, and from there we will deduct 800, 3,000, 8,000, 4,300, 18,000, 6,600, 7,200, and after deducting we got difference of 14,600. So this amount we will write in here. It will become our balance carried down, and we got total of 62,500 on both the sides. Now this two balance carried down will become balance brought down in our next month, that is April 1st 2020, as our new balance brought down. Now remember, our last transaction took place on 30th March, and March, as we know that it is a 31-day month, so we will balance the account on March 31. So I hope you understood how to prepare double column cash book. and you can practice by yourself if you want. And if you have any confusion or any doubt, you can contact me. Thank you.